So let's just jump right into this role.
Mm.
Obviously, you didn't grow up here.
No.
I'm guessing you're not a Southerner
No.
based on your accent. So, how much did you know about the whole civil rights movement and the marriage laws before taking on the part of Richard Loving?
I knew absolutely nothing about the marriage laws before Jeff and I discussed this story and I watched the documentary. I knew about certain civil rights changes in this country, but they were usually the ones, strangely, well, not strangely, they were the ones I knew about because they were marked with extreme news events of violence and aggression and flashes of violence or big rioting, anything that sort of made the news. The thing about Richard and Mildred was it was such a kind of a long, sustained period of oppression and sort of subtle struggle that they were going through that it wasn't that big, instant news event. And I think that maybe that's why it's somewhat gone under the radar. And I think the beauty of making this film, one of the great reasons for doing that, is that it'll put the names of this couple in the mouths of everybody and school children, and therefore it'll become part of the conscious, full awareness of civil rights change.
So Richard obviously was not an activist. He just was a man who wanted to live his life. And he was a man of few words. Did that make the role more challenging for you or easier?
Well, it made it easier in some regards because I had to do less homework. No, I mean, it does make it makes it just richer, I think, in many ways. Film is a visual medium, and therefore I think sometimes characters can be a little too verbose, and movies can be a little bit too speechy, and everybody's kind of, standing on up and making these long kind of monologues about what they're thinking. Great filmmakers, I think, or very confident filmmakers can do that without words or with the reduction of words. And particularly knowing that Jeff was trying to tell this story, a true story in a truthful way, and striving for that complete authenticity across the board. We had footage of Richard in the documentary and other extra footage, and he was just that guy. He didn't really have much to say. I think he had a lot in his mind. The cogs were turning, but he wasn't a very verbose, expressive guy. And it was important for us to allow that to live in the film, and yet still see a guy who was willing to draw the line in the sand. So I'll toe the line of the law, but I won't annul this marriage.
And how much responsibility or pressure did you feel to really get it right because he was a real person?
A lot. I mean, you strive to, if you have the real person, access to the real person, and even if that's just the footage, it gives you a guide, it gives you a roadmap, really. And particularly knowing that Jeff as a director was like, he wanted us to look, feel, move, sound, that he wasn't trying to make a documentary, but he was really trying to pay homage to this story and these people. So there was definitely a responsibility. And I felt like Ruth and I together felt a great privilege and responsibility to be the ones, to be walking in the shoes of this couple.
And so, as it turns out, the movie's coming out right in the midst of a lot of racial tension in this country. What do you think people are going to take away from this, given the current climate?
Look, I think, I've been thinking a lot about that current climate here, and from being an outsider, we have our own kind of tension, racial tension in Australia, and it's not just now. It's always taking some shape or form, or it's always there, and certain stories come to the fore in the news. We also have a lot of resonance with this in terms of marriage equality in Australia because we're still not there yet in terms of the full legal rights for two men or two women to marry each other. I just hope that this sparks a sort of a conversation from a movie that has a really big heart and allows people, particularly people who have grown up maybe like me, who have never really experienced injustice, or maybe other people who are in that mind who hold on to certain judgments without really having a window into another world, that this movie can, in a very gentle and full-hearted way, open up a conversation or a debate or just kind of give someone a new insight or awareness.